Really, I love Egyptians, and I believe Egyptians they love us too. There are so many things that take place in Malawi, especially when we talk about politics, when we talk about agriculture, talk about technology, talk about education, and so on. So the reason is why I came here was to proceed my university, because I graduated from the Faculty of Mass Communication. That I took it 4 years in my country, and I wanted to proceed here in Egypt. This is what I'm doing right now. But just to talk in short, there are so many things that take place in Malawi. Because of time, maybe I could have explained so many things, but because of time, time is not allowing me to explain so many things exactly. Yeah.
Do you have a special traditional meal that you eat in Malawi that you can't find here in Egypt?
That's a good question. Actually, yes, we have it. There is this food so called in Sima. We call it a meal in English. But this food is found here in Egypt, but just because of the materials or ingredients that are mixed into to make this kind of food, they're different. Because here they have it what they call it basibusa in Egypt, and in Malawi we call it what we call it ufa. This is a flour. So they mix it and make something solid, and which you can eat it with meat, you can eat it with chicken, you can eat it with fish, and so on, which is not found in Egypt. Yeah.
It's nice. You miss it? Do you miss it?
Yes, really, I miss it because it's now 2 years since I came here in Egypt. I've never ever taken it before.
How long have you been in Egypt? How long have you been in Egypt?
I've been here in Egypt for 2 years now. I came here in 2011, and this is 2013. I think to the nearest 2 years now.
Are you studying at Azhar?
Yes, I'm studying at Al Azhar University.
Yeah. What's your major?
I am majoring there mass communication. Yeah.
How is the media in back at home in Malawi?
Actually, the media in Malawi is very interesting, but it's still, these days in which we are living, I remember when I was studying mass communication, there is what they call it objectivity. So what is happening these days is like media is lacking objectivity. All the journalists these days, they're not objective to their workers. They're actually objective to their bosses who employ them, or maybe the main reporter or the main editor. So they are not focusing on what is going on the ground, because they capture something and they announce something. This is the disorganization of the media right now. But in Malawi, the same thing happens, but most of them, because they are controlled by the government, when it sees that there is something that is going on which is not in the interest of the society, they actually broke that media and they cut off all the aids that they've been funding that media.
Malawi is among the world's least developed countries. The economy is heavily based in agriculture, with a largely rural population. According to 2007 estimates, approximately 80% of the population is Christian and 13% of it is Muslim, with most of the Muslim population being Sunni. Now it's time for the cultural review. Now it's time to attend the first symposium held about the Egyptian-Russian cultural relations. The 30th of June revolution formed a turning point in the Egyptian-Russian diplomacy. Russia's support to sovereignty of Egypt and its revolution re-strengthened the old bonds between the two nations. In celebration of the two countries' bilateral relations, a six-session symposium was held at the Book House in Cairo.
العلاقات المصرية الروسية بدأت منذ القرن الحادي عشر حيث كان
Relations between Russia and Egypt have a long history dating back to the 16th century AD. Early on, they were centered on the Russian government's and Russian Church's support to the Orthodox Church of Alexandria. As early as the 16th century, Russia supported and assisted the Orthodox Church of Alexandria, and especially the Greek Orthodox monastery of St. Catherine. Ever since then, for centuries to come, Russia continued to provide support to Egyptian Christians. In the 19th century, Muhammad Ali Pasha sent Sheikh Muhammad Ayyad al-Tantawi to teach in Russia. We have collected his legacy and publications and sent copies of them as a gift to Egypt. In the 1950s, Gamal Abdel Nasser earned support from the communist government of the USSR, where the High Dam, Conservatoire, and the High Institute of Science, as well as many projects and institutions, were established based on Soviet support. The relationship went so years after the death of Nasser, when President Anwar Sadat started reorienting the country toward the West. After the Egyptian revolution disposed of Mohammad Morsi, the Russian policy was supportive to the Egyptian government, and Egyptian-Russian relations are tightening again.
ساعة في مصر.
The symposium seminars covered the history of the religious relations between Egypt and Russia, the travelers who traveled between Egypt and Russia, memories of medieval travelers, education, Orientalism, journalism, language, as well as literature, history, and all.
I lived in Egypt for 15 years, from the beginning of '86 till the end of 2000. I worked as a correspondent for leading Russian newspapers, and when I came back to Moscow, I decided to quit journalism and started a research based on my findings during my work here. And my favorite topic is Russian-Egyptian human relations. So this is different visits of Russians to Egypt, Egyptians to Russia. We had here in Egypt some immigrants, Russian community which existed for almost 60 years, from 1920 till beginnings of 1980. And topics which are related to this, for example, Egypt is very well presented in Russian literature because it was all the time it was popular in Russia, and a lot of poets, writers, and any kind of cultural persons visited Egypt and then wrote poetry, stories, paintings, and so on. So Egypt and Egyptian culture from a long time is a part of a Russian culture also, maybe not very huge part, but still. And now this part becomes wider and wider because of, excuse me for this word, crazy number of Russian tourists. Before the revolution in 1910, it was almost 3 million persons, Russian persons, who visited Egypt. And I am absolutely sure that in just several months, maybe not exactly this number, but hundreds of thousands of Russians will be back to Egyptian resorts. And this influenced very much. 2 newspapers in Russian are printed in Egypt, in Russian language.
On the sidelines of the symposium, a painting exhibition was held for Egyptian plastic artists who studied in Russia. Now it's time for the NGO's page. Now it's time to head to Ahalina Foundation. The foundation was founded in 1990 to host orphans and unidentified children between the age of 1 day up to 6 years of age, who are brought up in the home till they reach their adulthood. We offer to the children a normal life where they are well taken care of. We offer them healthcare services, education, and entertainment. The children are of various ages. So far, many of our children have graduated from university, and 7 girls got married. Children are given private lessons by university students who have volunteered to tutor them their school curriculum. I'm a student at the Faculty of Engineering, Cairo University. This is my first term with the children. I started with Risala and I wanted to continue working with the orphans and the elderly. I tutor them once or twice a week. I mainly teach them science, but sometimes I tutor them other subjects. They are very clever. The foundation offers the children their basic needs to become proper adults who can be easily integrated and function in the Egyptian society. is more of a retirement home where senior members are accommodated at a subsidized rate. The home mainly accepts those who are capable of serving themselves. Then, the staff supply them with medical care, cleaning services, laundry. Also, the 3 meals are included. Each room has its own separate bathroom.
اشتغلت في التربية والتعليم مدرس واخصائي اجتماعي وضابط تربية عسكرية، وقعدت في العمل ده من 56.
A retired teacher. I retired in 1995. After that, I worked as a private teacher. Then, when I reached the age of 70, I decided to fully retire. I decided to move to a Helena retirement home as I felt lonely. I felt I needed follow-up and supervision. Here, I have people around me. Also, my family, they visit me a lot. And as you can see over there, this is Yusuf, my grandson. Helena Foundation's hostel consists of 3 floors, 2 floors of which are dedicated to the orphans, a boys' hostel, a girls' one, while the 3rd floor is for the elderly. By this we come to an end to today's edition of Nile Magazine. Until we meet again next week, it's goodbye.